Hello and welcome to the Wire's live show for today. I'm Jahnavi Sen, and with me I have Ajoy Ashirwad Mahaprashasta, who is the Wire's political editor. And we're here to try and understand why delimitation has become such a tumultuous political issue in the last few weeks and months. Now, we've seen how several opposition political parties, but particularly the DMK, have taken a really strong stance on this issue. And what they've said repeatedly is that they are not against delimitation, but they are fighting for a fair delimitation. Ajoy, I want to understand from you what is their issue here and what would a fair delimitation mean according to them?
Yeah. So, Janvi, as we know that the delimitation exercise has been a fairly contentious topic, even in the last time when it happened in 2008. But this is a different kind of flashpoint between uh, the opposition parties, especially from the south, and the center, the BJP-led center. And this is completely a little different in nature, given the context, political context. It is kind of unfolding. So let us get a few things like in the right. When in 2002, the center passed the 84th Amendment, saying that freezing any kind of delimitation process, something after 2008, saying that only when the census is done, the first census that is done after 2026, another delimitation exercise can happen. So now we know that the center has already delayed the 2021 census, citing that because of COVID we could not carry on the process. And
Yeah.
in the last Lok Sabha, we saw Amit Shah promising that the census will be conducted immediately after they come to power again. So, and in which context did he say that? He said when the last Modi government passed the women's reservation bill, saying that the women's reservation bill will happen only after delimitation, and the census will be immediately conducted. So now we know that neither the census has happened, and now when we go back to the 2002 84th amendment, we see that there may be another kind of ancillary reason that the center may have postponed the census process, because the 84th amendment categorically says that the delimitation can happen only after
26.
after 2020, after a census is carried out after
Yes.
2026. So now it
So if they had done
seems,
one in
yeah.
21, they would
So
have
the
to wait
whole
till
series
31.
of events looks very suspicious,
Mm.
especially. So it may happen that the center has deliberately delayed the census, thinking that it will conduct a census only after 2026, which becomes the first census after 2026 and the basis for delimitation.
Yes.
So, and then when we come back to delimitation itself, so we also know that the Supreme Court had frozen the number of seats in Parliament till 2026.
Yeah.
So there is high probability that the next delimitation exercise may increase the number of Lok Sabha seats, and this is where the southern states, the opposition comes from, because delimitation has always been done on the basis of population
Yes.
growth and the census. So 2001 census became the basis for 2008's delimitation. So the first census, which will happen after 2026, will become. So now the southern states feel that because their record of containing population and giving, and they claim that 36%, or the southern states contribute 36% of India's GDP. So their contention is that they should also get 36% of the Lok Sabha seats. So, but center hasn't given any kind of those kind of assurances, and that is where this is the latest flashpoint
Yeah.
between the southern
So
states
just to
and the
clarify
center.
what
Yeah,
you're saying, if it
yeah.
were to happen according to population, what would be likely happen was that the northern states would get a higher increase in number of
Yes,
seats than
yes.
the southern.
Mhm.
Even if there was an increase across India,
Yes.
there would be more weight to the northern states,
So
where
Yes,
Perhaps not accidentally, the BJP is stronger.
in a scenario where the center decides that okay, the number of seats in Lok Sabha should go up because India's population has grown from X to Y,
Hmm.
so it will naturally happen that the northern states, which hasn't been able to contain its population so much in comparison to the four southern states or five southern states, so the southern states will naturally, which has been kind of been successful in implementing the population growth figures, and has very high number, high levels of human development indices, education levels, health levels. So they are naturally feeling injustice that for states which have actually managed to carry on the center's programs of bettering human development indices, giving better public health and public education, giving better literacy rates, they are the ones who stand to lose
Yeah.
in the whole delimitation process, because in if and the states which were poorly governed according to them, uh, so they will end up having more number of seats and much better representation than the southern states in
Yeah.
the Lok Sabha. So that is where the opposition
Right.
comes from. But I need to also get it into why there's a what is the crux of the whole debate. The crux of the whole debate is a very, what deepening trust deficit
Hmm.
between parties which are ruling the southern states right now and the center.
And I think
Because
in
yeah.
that context, maybe we should also talk about the meeting that took place on the 22nd of March, which was hosted by MK Stalin, but
Hmm.
attended by a large number of opposition leaders. I think from
Yes.
the southern states, the only chief minister not to attend was Chandrababu Naidu, who of course is
Yes,
aligned
yes,
with the
yes.
BJP.
And Chandrababu Naidu, and that's a fairly what the DMK has now done. It had already proposed that delimitation should not. There should be a temporary freeze, while a lot of observers and analysts are now also kind of exploring the possibility of a delimitation exercise, which is not just conducted on the basis of population, but also on different other factors.
Hmm.
For example, one of the factors is geographical factors, to get a more representative kind of Lok Sabha.
Yeah.
That where one state, or where four states, for example, which have performed better, do not kind of end up in a situation where they are always in a hopeless minority, and the people and states which may have not performed better, they are always in a kind of majority.
Yeah.
But this trust deficit that I'm talking about is actually kind of fueled by this BJP-led center only. We saw an attempt by the BJP-led center to kind of uh, what the southern states called impose Hindi
Hmm.
on them. While the fact is that there is no compulsion on the northern states to learn any southern
Right.
language, but there states like Tamil Nadu or Kerala, the third three language policy will require students to take Hindi as the third language, but a state like Haryana or Punjab will not
Hmm.
have to learn Tamil or Malayalam.
Right.
So this is one point. Then another, we saw like a contest developing in last year between southern states, where these well-performing states, which contribute much more in as tax to the state's exchequer, uh, they were revolting against a better kind of allocation of taxes to them because they contribute more. One of with when Narendra Modi was the chief minister of Gujarat, he also demanded the same. But now these opposition, the southern states and Narendra Modi, they are on the opposite side of the political spectrum right now. So these a number of such incidents where southern states kind of felt left out or felt kind of sidestepped. So this has kind of exacerbated the whole trust deficit angle, and because of which delimitation has also become a big contentious issue. Now, coming back to the 22nd March meeting, it was a fairly interesting development, according I feel, because see, we know that DMK, the CPIM led left front, or Congress, these people have always been in the opposition, and it was kind of despite the fact that they may be right in whatever they are demanding, they will still be seen as opposition forces, part of the India bloc opposition front, which is opposing BJP-led center, and that is what most of the BJP supporters are also kind of given to understand, that these are opposition people. But this joint action committee meeting against delimitation process was fairly interesting, because there were different parties which attended, one of which is Biju Janata Dal.
Yes.
In Odisha, which has always maintained an equidistant policy from both BJP and the Congress. They attended. Naveen Patnaik called the delimitation exercise as unfair. We have Bharat Rashtra Samiti, KT Rama Rao, which wasn't a part of India bloc, and he went on a step ahead. Actually, DMK was still asking for a temporary freeze to the delimitation process for another 25 years, but in the meeting, KT Rama Rao of BRS went ahead and said there should be a permanent freeze on delimitation. And then we have Revanth Reddy, DK Shivakumar attending the Kerala government. They were all asking for delimitation, and Aam Aadmi Party, Punjab also joined it. So it's not a North versus South debate. We have one Odisha, we have Punjab, which are not part of Southern India. They also joined the Joint Action Committee, and it is actually becoming a different kind of political axis where things may become a little polarized. And even like you see NDA, and the YSR Jagan Reddy, for example, he isn't a part of India bloc, but he did not attend the Joint Action Committee.
What was interesting also is that often we see, or what we've seen over the last few years is, these alliances come up for electoral politics.
Yes.
So that's not what's happening
That's
here.
not why. It's an
not
issue-based opposition to delimitation, which we really need to understand. Because you see, YSR Jagan Reddy, who's lost the election, he did not attend the Joint Action Committee meeting led by the DMK. But 2 days ago, before the meeting happened, YSR Jagan Reddy actually wrote to the Prime Minister saying that the delimitation, opposing delimitation. And what is Chandrababu Naidu doing, who is a part of NDA currently? He is not directly opposed to delimitation, but in his own state, he is calling for people to reproduce more children. He understands that the more population that we have, when we have a better population or a bigger population, so he wants the census figures to be high, so that the Andhra Pradesh, his state, gets more number of seats. So, and the whole thing, and sensing this kind of what we this kind of opposition or resentment in many in Chandrababu Naidu or Naveen Patnaik. And so Amit Shah was kind of forced to declare in Coimbatore that southern states will not end up losing any number of seats after delimitation but he cleverly added that it will be on a pro rata basis. So what is pro rata basis? Okay, you may not end up, like, for example, 36%, the southern states, I think it's together it contributes around 100 or 100 to 120 Lok Sabha seats, and so they may not actually end up losing any number of seats. But what, in comparison to
likely to in fact go up, but just
in a smaller number, and in proportion to the northern states, which may see a huge jump in the number of seats in the Lok Sabha, they will end up in a hopeless minority. So there was no assurance from the center or from Amit Shah that you will not be a force that may not matter in the Lok Sabha. And in a situation like this, and given this government's record, where it has made it a habit to kind of pass acts, bills, and conduct parliamentary sessions unilaterally and undemocratically at one level, these states will have no or very little representation to kind of effectively oppose or stall any kind of bill, act, or any kind of session where their voices are not heard, or where they want to oppose. So the checks and balances that the parliamentary system India has is actually likely to get damaged in the long run if suspicions raised by parties like DMK become true.
Yeah. I think before we close, maybe you could also comment on, how we were saying earlier, how this is an issue-based
Hmm.
alliance of
Hmm.
sorts,
Hmm.
an issue-based protest against a
Hmm.
certain perceived decision that's upcoming. Where do you see this going in the next few years? It's likely to be, because if the census only happens after
Yeah, that's
2026. Yeah.
ever last few years I've just been kind of recording as a journalist one issue after another that are piling up, and to become really polarizing issues between the center and the
Yeah.
states. So
And this is not
delimitation,
an
yeah.
issue on which anyone can say the
Yeah,
opposition is not
yeah.
doing anything. They
You
are
take
making their
devolution of
voices heard.
taxes,
Yeah.
you see the three language policy, you see many different kinds of even political campaigns against the South, or is so many that it's just become like where the center has been accused to kind of go after opposition ruled
Yes.
states, and it has actually damaged, and it has actually taken a toll on what was a fairly established center state relations, the federal structure. Now most of the opposition ruled states have, even when there is no kind of debate on whether to have like taxes, commensurate taxes according to their contribution to the GDP. So even then there have been flashpoints. TMC has been saying that they have not been given their even whatever allocation is mandated by the constitution. They have not been given that. Also Karnataka has been raising that okay, the center owes them so many number of crores, and they have not been given it on time. West Bengal, the MGNREGA funds, for example, we did a story. Yeah. It's on a standstill because center has not released those funds. So it's like delimitation again, when with less representation from these states who have joined the, if it becomes true, then it becomes like it's about like what is in the longer run. What I see is the center is trying to like consolidating power in its own hands, where they are in a position to probably become more benevolent also, and or in a position where they can completely crush any form of autonomy that the states enjoy right now. So this is fairly dangerous for our democracy, because the moment you consolidate power in your own hands, and the government loses the trust of the people, it may it's currently many opposition parties have already been labeling the BJP government as autocratic. When it becomes even more autocratic, when it becomes even like almost functions like a fascist organization in terms of governance, we never know. So it's high time, like when we start listening at least to people who are raising these issues and take them seriously, rather than kind of quickly jump to take sides. Let's understand what is being raised. Let's kind of analyze and see for ourselves what is happening. The more power the center has been trying to leave with small tweaks in laws and acts, they have been kind of trying to control information. They have been trying to consolidate like power in at every stage from top to bottom. And this is and exactly that is why they've been facing a lot of anger from the opposition states, but currently they enjoy a majority in the Lok Sabha, and they have been able to kind of bulldoze a lot of regional parties into submission. So that is why, but there will be a time, it may be in another few years, where these things will be raised. We right now need to kind of ask, where is the women's reservation bill? If you haven't conducted census, and were you actually conspiring to conduct census only after 2026, while you were giving the pretext of COVID? So we need to ask all these questions and kind of raise questions around these issues.
Thanks a lot, Joy, for breaking down why this has become such a flashpoint. As the days and weeks and months ahead, we'll definitely be following this issue closely on our YouTube channel and on our website. So please stay tuned. And thank you so much for joining us today.